Hello everybody. Today I'm going to do a non-abstract image, um, a landscape in fact, and I'm going to show you my inspiration piece. This is a print by the Japanese artist Hokusai, and what I like about this print is its minimal use of color. Uh, there's only this dark blue and variations of green, which is a mix of the blue and the pale yellow. So really there are only two colors used here, but it's very effective. So I'm going to do a variation of this, and I came up with this simplified sketch, and with the use of paper stencils I'm going to create these rocks and hills. So I cut out these pieces of copy paper like I usually do, and so I will get started. So I did some test rolls with my brayer, and when you apply two different colors and roll them up and down very slowly, this is the kind of blend that you get. And let me show you. So I put the darker blue up here, and maybe lighter blue, which is called Arctic, and gently blend. Now for the water, I'm going to use a little more of this Arctic, and maybe more of a greenish cast. This is called green gray. There's clearly a horizon line. You have the sky and the water down here. So I'm going to do my first pull. And by the way, let me just make sure this is clean. I had to adjust the jelly plate because after several printings, sometimes it shifts either to the left or to the right. So I had to pull it off and correct it. Now, if you are very particular about your registration, it's good to check because the plate tends to shift because it's very flexible. So as usual, I'm going to place it on the registration mark and create the background. Okay, let's see what we got. As you can see, the texture is emphasized by the plate. So here's the first pull. Okay. So it actually looks like a landscape already because of the horizon lines. So I'll let this sit and dry for a while and I'll be right back with the stencils. Okay, I'm back. And as you can see, I had positioned my copy paper, these shapes to represent the rocks sticking out of the water. And I cut this shape to represent the hills in the distance. And I'm going to apply some white paint with some light blue to represent some clouds. So I'm going to get started. And just it seems to be thicker than most. Okay. Then I put a mix of Arctic for some reason the white is a totally different texture. It's very thick, so I'm going to have to take away some of it. And using my rag, I'm just going to take away some more. Like so, kind of like wispy clouds. And then let me just clean this up. Make sure it seems to be a little messier than usual. Okay, so now I'm doing the upper portion, which is the sky. I could have done the bottom with the water, but I want to do that separately because I want to make sure this stays wet. Because if this should dry on me, it's not going to transfer. Okay. So where I applied the rag, you see here the open parts, the open sky. And then where I had the paper, let me show you. So where I applied the rag, it opens up the color underneath. So you get the impression that it's wispy clouds. And then where I had the paper stencil, it defines the edge of the mountains in the distance. So here's a close-up of the detail. Hope you can see this in the video. Okay, sometimes I have to apologize. Sometimes my image is out of the frame of the camera, but I want to make sure that you can see the detail because of the technique that I'm using. So I'm going to let this dry, and I'll start working on the rocks. So for the rocks, I'm going to use some green and some of the Arctic. Okay. And like I said, there's no telling what the result is going to be. Okay. It's all a surprise to me. So this time I'm going to use a different brayer. And carefully try to keep my direction left to right, right to left. This is trying to come up. Just came up. Okay. Sometimes it's a problem when you play with it too much. Okay, so I take my stencils off as usual. Okay. It's a bit hard to see, but there we go. Now this jelly plate is very sticky, so sometimes too sticky that the stencils won't even come off. So now that I've done that, and just to refresh your memory, here's the print so far, and I'm going to apply the green on top of that. I really don't know what the result is going to be, but it'll be a surprise. Okay. There you go. It's a little more subtle than I wanted, but I can always add detail. Okay, here's a close-up. But it's already beginning to look like a figurative landscape as opposed to just a bunch of shapes. Okay, this gets set aside to dry as usual. I'm going to do a general cleanup. See, every artist has their own preferences when it comes to how they want their artwork to look. And in my case, I want it to look very clean. So because of that, I insist on keeping the plate clean. So each pool is a clean pool. There's no leftovers of the paint that was there before. Only in certain circumstances I do that. Getting a fresh rag. And this is one of the better uses I can think of for old t-shirts. Okay, so now here's the print so far. Now I'm going to work on the center divide, which is I'd like to put some more land shapes in green, and I'll have to cut some more paper stencils and see how I'm going to lay them out. So I will be right back and show you my sketch on a piece of acetate. Okay, now I'm back with my cheat sheet, and I put in my layout for the rocks in the distance. So what I did is take some tracing paper and trace this shape. I'm going to do this in two parts because I don't want the stencil to rip, because you have these very skinny parts here. So I do this as part one, and I'll do this as part two. Okay, so now that I have my guide, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to use a pair of scissors, not the razor blade, because tracing paper is very fragile. Okay, that's one. Oops, that's two. Okay, then I will do this one. This will be the other rock. Okay, so I'm going to put these aside. I'm going to position this with the help of my cheat sheet. To peel it back and see if it lines up. Now this is especially tricky because the jelly plate is very sticky and it's hard to position things because the plate grabs it. So I just have to be careful not to rip the stencil. Okay. Make sure that there are no ripples. Okay, it's not perfect, but more or less it's in the same spot that I want. Okay, so now that I have this in place, I'm going to very carefully lift this off. And I'm going to take a look at the print to refresh my memory. Okay. So I want the rocks in the distance to have a bluish cast to them. So I'm going to have a little bit of dark blue and then some light green maybe. I'm just going to do that with a brush because it's such a small area. So just the very tops. Severe. Just need very little. Maybe I will use my little brayer that comes in handy. And think of that. Just having a brayer makes it easy to blend small areas like this. Just trying to soften the blend. Okay. And to get this off quickly because tracing paper, when it gets wet, just falls apart. Okay, so I will call this rocks number 1. And here's our print. Let's see what happens. Be careful to register it. And I only need to apply pressure on this spot. No need to do an overall press like before. Okay. Here we go. Let me get my trusty pointer. There you have your rocks. Okay, I hope this is a good view of it. Okay. Just want to make sure you see the result. Okay, so now I will proceed to do the second one. the... Now this is not exact, but I remember this is in between this and this. Okay. And maybe this one I will put some touches of green. It's green at the bottom. And some gray on the top. And just roll this very, very carefully. If I do it in short strokes, it seems to blend better. I have to use both sides because this is, like I said, very delicate. There we go. And here's print once more. And since it's on this side, I'll apply the pressure on the right side. Okay, let's see what we got. There we go. Here's the result. It's getting to look more and more like a real landscape, and not just a bunch of shapes. So as a last step, I'm going to hand color the rocks, put some detail, maybe some suggestion of plants and other stuff. Okay, I have mixed some gray green with water to make it very thin, and as a shield I'm going to use these strips of paper. So just going to apply very gently. So here is the finished image. I'm trying not to add too many colors just to keep it minimal. And here's a close-up. It's a close-up of the detail. I hope you like this demonstration of stencils on jelly plate. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.